The Eldar Codex is finally here. In this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive look at all the different ways to play Eldar. Whether it's Harlequins, Ynari, or Aspect Warrior hosts, it really doesn't matter because there are so many different ways to play Eldar in this codex. We take a look at the rules, the enhancements, the stratagems, the top combos, what's changed, what's hot, what's not, and finally, our favourite aspects and ways to play with this Aeldari Codex. So stay tuned as we go through the entire codex. It's finally here, the Aeldari Codex, and a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending us this preview copy. Today, myself and Jordan, we're going to be digesting absolutely everything around this codex, from the detachments, the army rules, and some of the cool combos that we've spotted during this. So sit back, relax, and let's really dive deep into the realm of, or the craft world of Aeldari.
Well, not just the craft worlds. We've got Ynari, we've got Harlequins. There's a lot to digest in this codex. It's one of the thickest books we've been given, actually, from Games Workshop. So there's a lot to go through.
I'm actually really impressed with the flavour of this codex. It's so diverse, and the way that they've changed the army rule, I think, is absolutely brilliant. I think it's something that really reflects the Eldar faction. All the detachments look great. Some are going to be better than others, and we'll see that over the course of time. But there are some brutal combos in here as well, which I'm super excited to get onto the tabletop.
Well, this is an army that you've played quite a bit over the years, Steve. But you mentioned the army rule. Let's get stuck in with that. So what is the army rule for the Eldar?
Okay, so the army rule is called Battle Focus. Now, it's all about speed and agility, and that's exactly what you can do with your Eldar army. Now, one thing to know on how you actually construct an army, no matter whether you're playing Harlequins, Eldar, as we know it, or Ynari, your faction army is called Asuryani. Okay, and it explicitly says here, you cannot have a faction that's Harlequins or Ynari. You can take detachments, but and that's a good thing, by the way. It actually means that all of your units, whether they're Ynari, Asuryani, or Eldar, are all going to be able to get the benefits of Battle Focus.
Yeah, but what it does mean is if we wanted to play Ynari, we'd have to have a bespoke detachment to be able to use them potentially, but Harlequins can jump in and out of the army, right?
Yeah, so there are two different things you need to realise, is that gone are the days where you can just put your Vrain in a Eldar list. If you're going to take any Ynari units, and I'll also tell you this now, Ynari have their own Drakari-based units. Okay, so you can't do powers from Pain on, and you can't select any units you want. That is going to be something that I think people might be upset about, is that the selection of Drakari units you can now take are massively restricted because you can only take the ones in this book.
But would you say that that's going to help balance Drakari as well as a faction? Because it means we're not going to see points increases if they're too strong, if they're taking in an Aeldari army, and vice versa, right?
Exactly that. They're different data sheets, so that means they can be pointed appropriately. And it will mean that Drakari are not affected by whatever happens with Drakari units using Battle Focus.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about Battle Focus. What is this army rule?
Okay, so depending on the size game, you're going to be able to perform different maneuvers, and they're called agile maneuvers. If you're taking an incursion game, you're going to be able to do 2 every single battle round. If you're taking a strike force, 4, and if you're taking an onslaught game, you're going to be able to do 6. We're going to focus today on strike force games, which are 2,000 point games. So these maneuvers, a little bit like a stratagem, and there's 6 to choose from. You can never use an agile maneuver on the same unit in the same battle round. You also can't use the same agile maneuver again on a different unit.
It's going to allow us to manipulate the movement phase quite a bit, right?
Not only the movement phase.
Oh, okay.
There are different phases where you can use these abilities, okay? Not only in your turn, but also in your opponent's turn as well. And that's why they reset at the battle round.
Okay.
The first one triggers in the movement phase. You can select one of your units and give it +2 move to its characteristics. So that will affect whether it makes a normal move, a fallback, or an advance roll.
Okay, interesting. That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
So the next one means you cannot be overwatched.
I mean, that's really good.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. And this is one of the things that really limited an Aeldari player, which is why we've seen things like Wraith Knights and Fire Prisms, units that were kind of unfazed by Overwatch. Because often if you just put 5 Fire Dragons out, normally your opponent would just Overwatch, kill 2 to 3, and now your remaining 2 to 3 Fire Dragons aren't really going to do much. But you're paying a high premium for an elite unit. And that's the thing with Eldar. They're very much a glass cannon. They're very easy to kill when you actually get hold of them and you lock them down. But when they are managed to lay the trap, they're the ones that get the first drop. They're very effective.
So we're still going to get that tactical maneuver and the tactical depth that I think Aeldari players love with the faction, right? And being able to use something like No Overwatch really gets rid of one of the weaknesses of the faction.
Exactly that. And this is something that we're going to be going in deep into the masterclass when we release that over on our website.
All right, fantastic. What's the next one?
The next one is you add D6 plus 1 inches to the characteristics of a vehicle, and that's called Star Engine. So those upgrades you used to be able to take in the past. It's back, and it's an agile maneuver.
Okay, so D6 plus 1 to the movement characteristic of one of our vehicles.
Exactly that.
Great.
Now, the next one is called Sudden Strikes. This allows you to pile in or consolidate 6 inches, not 3 inches. So this is really going to exacerbate what you can do in the fight phase, okay? And you actually use it when you're eligible to fight. So this is a fight-based, I suppose, agile maneuver.
So Shining Spears, your Harlequins as well, your Howling Banshees, things like that, right?
Yep. It means what this allows you to now do is move in with a unit, clear a screen, and then the second combat unit is able to go in, consolidate into the next line of defenses, and hit that unit as well.
Okay, I can see some deadly plays coming here, Steve.
There's going to be a lot of advanced tactics for this one, yeah.
What's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is called Opportunity Seized. When you make a fallback move from me, I'm then able to make a normal move of D6 plus 1 inches.
Okay, that's really good.
Exactly that. And now, it just means you're making a normal move.
Yeah.
So if you've got a transport nearby, I don't want to give too much away right now, but it does mean you could do some things like jump behind a wall, jump into a transport.
Yeah, it's going to really limit your opponent's ability to tag units, things like this, right?
Now, that is exactly it. But remember when you make a fallback move, not when I make a fallback move.
Yep.
So what this stops, now somewhat this will be ineffective a little bit because as an Eldar player, I don't really want to tag units. Because even if you've got 4 attacks with no AP at strength 4, you're still wounding me on 3s, and I've pretty much got a 4-up, 5-up save. Sure. So I'm going to lose a lot of models if I decide to tag a unit. But it just gives me that ability. If I do that, and you're still alive, and I'm still alive, if you do make that fallback move, then I can just move away.
Okay.
So it's subtle, it's going to be nice, and I think there's going to be some cool little abilities there.
Nice tool to have in the pocket.
Exactly that, yeah. Now, the next one is called Fade Back, okay? This is triggered in your shooting phase.
Right.
After you've shot one of my units, I can then make a D6 plus 1 inch normal move, okay? And this is excluding Titanic, and so does the other one as well. They both exclude Titanic models.
So no Wraith Knights are able to use this, but...
Not these two specifically, no.
Not these two specific ones. But, I mean, this is reminiscent of, like, Phantasm. Am I right in saying that?
Similar. Obviously, you get to resolve all your attacks first.
And then
I get to make a move.
Right, okay. So does that limit where this is going to be used then, do you think?
Yeah, somewhat. I think it just means that you're not going to be able to do chip damage to me. Because you might either set up me for a better turn next turn, especially if you've got no charges.
Yeah.
I can actually come towards you. Or it might mean if you just start off with some little piddly shots, I might then be able to move behind a wall.
Or get OC on an objective, potentially.
Or do that. And it somewhat stops those little things that some armies do where they shoot you with a unit to trigger extra AP or to strip cover. And they might only do like 1 or 2 casualties, but then the rest of the unit is now safe because it can hide. Yeah. So it kind of stops some of those other army combos a little bit, and they'll just have to go in with that first unit that can do most of the damage. But again, on the masterclass, we'll show you lots of ways to play around this so you don't get caught out of the tabletop.
Yeah. Absolutely. So is that all the agile maneuvers that we've got?
That's all 6.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this overall?
Honestly, I love it. I think for me, it's like having, again, another toolbox at your disposal that you can use anytime that you wish. And I absolutely love that as a player. I think it's going to be one of these things that the more you play it, the better you're going to get with the army. We're going to see a lot of top players, I think, play the army because of the skill depth that's going to be in this book. And no doubt, as soon as it drops, it's going to be in a strong place. People are going to have to figure out how to play against it. I think in 6 months' time, people will be like, okay, yeah, I know you can do these things and I know what to do to play around it. But there can be that sort of time lag where people are going to feel this is a very, very strong ability straight out of the book.
Yeah, there are definitely some highlights there. I mean, no Overwatch is fantastic.
Yeah.
Being able to move after you've been shot potentially on other, like your higher toughness units is going to be really good.
Yep.
So there's lots of plays. And like you said, we'll be able to discuss this in depth on a masterclass and things like that. Right. Detachments.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at these now. We've got 8 to go through. So there's a lot to digest here, Steve. What is the first one?
So the first one is Warhost. Now, this for me is going to be your most generic detachment, okay, where you can take a little bit of everything, okay? Of course, not any Ynniad units, but everything else you can. You get Martial Grace as your detachment rule, and at the start of the battle round, you get an additional battle focus token. So it means you can do 5 battle focus maneuvers rather than just 4. Now, when you do some of them as well, you can add an extra inch to those things. So, for example, instead of moving extra 2 inches, you get to go 3 inches because it explicitly calls out Swift is the wind agile maneuver, which is that first one. So your units can move an additional 3 inches rather than 2.
Wow. Where's the best place you can see this being used?
Well, I think anything that you really want to, boost out. For example, there's a combo with Howling Banshees. They move 8 inches. Jane Czar's got a really cool ability that allows you to auto advance 6 inches. Now, if you put yourself in a Wave Serpent as well, you can disembark 3 inches. Now you're going to be selected to move. So at this point, you use the characteristic buff. That's another 3 inches. So we've gone 6 inches before we've even really moved, to be honest. Then you're moving 8. Then you're advancing 6. Then you're charging.
Which is potentially 12 on the charge as well.
Yep.
You can't combo this, so say if you wanted no Overwatch, you couldn't do that because you've got the +3 move, right?
Exactly that.
Okay, right. So you got to sacrifice that. It obviously matchup dependent, right?
Yep.
But the ability to just move over 20 inches in a turn and charge what you want
is fast.
It's what Eldar should be, though, right? They should be that army that can get to where they want.
Yep.
Fleet of foot and all that sort of stuff, right? Very, very fast.
And let's be honest, we haven't even seen Jane Czar and Howling Banshees even get to the tabletop at this stage in the game of 10th edition so far. So it's going to be great to see some of these units come back and actually reinvigorate the combat elements of Aeldari, because we've been constantly plagued with just the shooting aspects.
Yeah, I've been plagued in 9th edition by your Howling Banshees and stuff in combos like that, Steve. So
hopefully they're back.
Yeah, hopefully they're back.
Now, the next one is that when you make an agile maneuver that involves rolling a d6, you also add 1 to it, which is really good because it just means now you're going d6 plus 2. So, for example, you fall back from me, I can now move d6 plus 2 inches. So it means when I'm positioning my units, I can be a little bit smarter, knowing that the minimum I could ever really move is 3 inches.
Yeah, and on average, you're moving 5, right? Which is normally enough, especially on the smaller bases that Aeldari come with, to get behind terrain or get to where you need to, right?
Exactly that. But knowing you can do 3 inches is great. Okay, so onto the enhancements. There's obviously 4 to pick from. The first one allows you to stand a character back up. We've seen this before. It's back and it's here in this detachment. So obviously the Phoenix Gem. The next one allows you to put this on an autarch, and this enhancement, you could even be in a transport. At the start of the battle round, you also gain an additional battle foes token. So this means you're going to take this enhancement to give you 6 maneuvers every single battle round.
Do you think that you will need 6?
Well, time will tell.
Time will tell. I guess obviously it comes with reps, right? Whether or not 5's enough. Or
whether you're playing MSU, you can have more units to choose from.
Yeah.
And if not, if you're going for a more elite army, maybe 5's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, what's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is you can basically target the unit with a command point reroll for 0 CPs. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the, what's his name? The autarch that gives you a CP anyway, right?
No. He's gone.
Oh, right, okay.
That is now Eldrad.
So Eldrad gives us a CP.
Yeah, but we'll come on to that later, Jordan. You're skipping ahead.
I'm getting excited now, Steve.
Yeah, so you basically use a CP reroll for free. It's okay.
It's okay.
Now, next up is a Psychic Destroyer. I quite like this. Psycho model. Add +1 damage to characteristics of psychic weapons equipped by the bearer. And this is going to be your farces.
And what damage are they normally?
Well, Jordan, they're D3 damage normally, so it means D3 +1.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, could be flat 4 damage.
Exactly that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the minimum 2 is the nice part. Yeah. It starts to change the curve into some of the targets that you might go after.
Okay, nice. So would you see, out of these 4 enhancements, which ones are going to be auto-includes?
Obviously, depending on the points. I think for me, definitely having another Battle Foes token, and also if I'm going to take a Farseer, which I probably will, I'm going to take the extra damage. I'm not too fussed about the other 2.
Okay, fair enough. What's the stratagems we have available?
Okay, so one of them is lightning fast reflexes in the shooting or fight phase, -1 hit. Always good.
Yeah, good.
So the next one is called Skyborn Sanctuary. after the fight phase, if you've actually fought and been eligible, you can then and not in engagement range, you can get back into a transport.
So if you killed an enemy unit in combat, you can just jump into a transport.
Yeah, exactly that. And you need to be wholly within 6 inches of that vehicle.
Okay, the 6 inches is quite nice actually, because normally it's 3, isn't it? That you need to be to embark on the vehicle.
In wholly within 3 inches is quite difficult. The way with pylons, having 6 gives you a little bit more, play there.
And what's the next stratagem, Steve?
So the next one is called Blitzering Firepower. It's in your shooting phase. You can get sustained hits, 1, when you are within 12 inches of the enemy unit. Now, if you already have sustained hits, you actually get critical hits on a 5+.
Okay, so what units will benefit most from this stratagem?
Well, for me, any unit that already has lethal hits is going to get amazing benefits because you get both lethal and sustained. And then if there's any ways to get full rerolls to hit, then that's obviously great as well. Now, I will say this just very quickly on that. Guide is changed just to give you +1 to hit rather than full rerolls. Okay. So you can't fish as much. Now, any unit, and I think we'll say this right now, the scatter lasers that you can take on your bikes have now got sustained. So if they now get within 12 inches, they're getting critical hits of 5s. But the shuriken cannon that used to have sustained is no longer. It now has lethal hits. So your cannon with the better damage is much better into units with higher wounds. And the scatter laser, which is, amazing and always has been at killing Horde, really does that now. So there's been a change there. Any other types of catapults do not get sustained or lethal, with the exception of Dire Avengers. Their unit ability is that when they are within half range, so 9 inches, they get sustained. So Dire Avengers would actually need to get within 9 inches to get sustained 1. Then they already have it. You play the strat. Now you get sustained 2. Or basically, you get crits on 5s.
Crits on 5s, and I'm sure when we come to the data sheets, Asaman in that unit with this stratagem is going to absolutely wreck face.
He really is.
Yeah. What's the next one?
Okay, the next one is Fire and Fade. In your shooting phase, after you've shot, you move D6 plus 1 inches. Now, this does exclude aircraft and Wraith Construct units, so it means no more firing, fading the old Wraith Knight, which I think people will be pleased to know about.
Yep,
and also, it's D6 plus 1. So even if you were, there's no guarantee that you'd be able to hide your Wraith Knight anyway, potentially, because that is one thing. So because it is the D6 plus 1, and this isn't an agile maneuver either, so you're not going to get your detachment rule, which is +1 to D6 plus, varied. It is literally D6 plus 1. It can't be changed.
No, I still think it's a very strong stratagem, though, right? Because anything that can shoot and move, or shoot and scoot, as we like to call it, if we look at Drakari with their scourges, it's a very powerful ability to have.
Yeah.
Aeldari having it is definitely a good tool.
Yeah, exactly that. I just think you're going to have to be very careful where you position, because no doubt you're always going to roll a 1. So that means the minimum you're going to be rolling or moving is a 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last one is Webway Tunnels. End of your opponent's fight phase, one of your infantry units can basically go back into strategic reserves. It's like an uppy-downy mechanic.
And that means that if we do have innate deep strike in our data sheets, we could use it to deep strike somewhere on the board potentially as well, right?
Exactly that, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's very good to have in the pocket. Like you said, this detachment is very well-rounded.
Yeah.
How do you feel this detachment is in terms of the rest of the book?
I think it's great. I think this could be one of the best attachments to lead with and start with. I think it's a really good way. You've got all the similarities of what you also knew from an index, but with some new different elements and complexities of the battle focus, and also some ways in there, obviously, to generate more battle focus. So if you're still getting used to the mechanic, it's a great way to use more of them and see the benefits as you start to play. So I think for me, if you're a beginner playing Aeldari, start with this one.
Okay, right. So we're off to a fantastic start here.
We are.
What's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is called the Windrider Host. And at first glance, I didn't really like this one, but the more I read it, the more I really did start to enjoy it. What I didn't like about it was the detachment rule. You can basically put lots of mounted and Viper units in strategic reserves. And also, basically, what they get is uppy-downy for all of their Azarani mounted or Viper units. So it basically means you can take 2 units of a strike force off the table, bring it back on.
Okay, so we're going to be encouraged to take maybe loads of small units of Windriders potentially.
Well, Windriders also gain battle line.
Oh, okay, so definitely want loads of Windriders then.
Yep, but there's nothing here that increases your damage output. It's literally the detachment rule is helping your mobility.
Right, okay.
And helping you get into the place that you need to. Now, one thing I will say as well on the Windriders, they can only go up to units of 6 now, not 9.
Okay, right, that's
So there's
good.
quite a big change there. You're taking out a third of their damage output. Enhancement-wise, for example, the first one is that they get a Scout of 9 on an Azarani mounted unit. The only one that you can actually take is a Farseer, and the only unit that it can join is Windriders. It cannot join Shining Spears.
Okay, so
It's okay.
Yeah, do you think this will see play?
I think so. Scout
Yeah.
moving 9 Windriders is pretty good. It'll just mean turn 1 you can, threaten your opponent with a unit.
Sure.
So I think that's quite nice. The next one is that you can have your Azarani mounted unit -1 to hit. That's also pretty nice as well. Then you can have a Psyker mounted model with anti-monster, anti-vehicle 2+.
Just for the model?
Just for the model.
Okay.
Yep. And then finally, the last one is in your command phase, you basically roll a dice, and if you add 1 if you're not in your deployment zone, on a 5+, you gain a CP, okay? And if you're in your opponent's deployment zone, you get +1 again. So basically what's going to happen is on a 5+, if you're in your own, you get a CP. If you're out of your deployment zone, on a 4+, and then if you're in your opponent's on a 3+, you get a CP.
Okay, so we're going to try and generate CP. I think this one we'd probably see a bit more than the others, right?
If you're not taking Eldrad, yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think so.
Okay. Okay, enhancements.
They're
Let's
all
look
right.
at some stratagems. What's the first one?
This is where I think the detachment really shines. When you come on in the shooting or the fight phase, you can get, and this is basically that was set up in reserves, and it was in the turn that it came on until the end of the phase, you get reroll wounds.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Windriders have reroll hits, right? If they're on an objective or the enemy's on an objective?
You got it, yeah.
Okay, so you can get reroll hits and wounds with some Windriders.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep. Next up is in your shooting or fight phase. After you've destroyed an enemy unit, so you actually have to completely kill it, you can make a normal move up to 7 inches.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Now, obviously, if you're still in engagement range, if you killed a unit, but you're still in engagement range, you wouldn't be able to use it because it's a normal move, not a fallback move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next one is, and I really like that, obviously, that's a great stratagem. The next one is Winds of Blade. This allows you to advance and fall back and still charge and shoot.
Oh, so everything.
So it means that your Shining Spears can really skyrocket. And Shining Spears, for me, are a massive highlight of this. I used to run 18
You did.
Shining Spears.
I've been on the end of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I used to take this equivalent detachment, the Sam Hain detachment, and I had a stratagem that allowed me to advance and charge my Shining Spears. It's back, and I can't wait to use it.
And they're much more brutal, I would say, in this codex than they've ever been before.
Yeah, they are.
With their damage buffs and also their maneuvement buffs as well.
They're a lot better than they were in the index.
Yeah.
They're probably on par to what they did damage output in 9th edition. But now they get a great ability, which means they can actually move through terrain as if it wasn't there.
Yes.
Which is similar to how they used to move in 9th edition.
Yeah, I mean, this is what, I know you said before as well that mounted units moving through terrain is obviously a massive weakness of them.
Yeah.
They just get rid of that weakness completely.
It really is. It means they're finally viable on the table.
Okay.
From a competitive standpoint. So I can't wait to get mine onto the table. Advance and charge with them with the extra movement as well is going to be awesome.
Right.
Now, Daring Riders, okay, so this is your reinforcement step of your movement phase. Basically, it's written here that you can set up just outside of 3, but because of the balanced data slate, it's actually going to be 6 inches, okay? Focused firepower. In the shooting phase, you can improve the AP by 1.
Oh, that's good.
Exactly.
That's really good. If you combo that with the reroll wounds as well,
Yep.
reroll hits from your Windriders, it's pretty spicy.
Extra AP. And there's also ways to increase AP as well by some of the other units that you could take. For example, the War Walker shoots a unit, it declares it as its target after it's shot, and now anything else that targets that unit gives it extra AP.
Right, so it's got that ability. We've seen this across multiple codexes now as well.
Yeah.
Definitely probably going to see a few War Walkers in this detachment then.
Yep, and also what you might see is the like the Rangers on bikes.
Okay, the Shroud Runners.
The Shroud Runners, they strip cover.
Right, we've got some wombo combos coming on here.
You're seeing it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Now, spiraling evasion, okay? When you're declared as a target in the shooting phase, you can get a 4+ invulnerable save. I love this. I really, really like this because it's, again, something that the Shining Spears really need. They're quite easy to kill. They're essentially flying Space Marines at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So giving them a 4+ invulnerable save just might keep them around a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most things going into them as well. They're probably going to be in the AP2, AP3 mark as well because they're quite elite, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice to have. Overall, the detachment does sound like it's got teeth, and it's definitely going to be in your face turn 1 and 2, right?
It's the combos and the stratagems that really, I think, make this detachment.
Yeah.
The detachment rules okay. It will help you kind of maybe, score them, the mission well. Maybe some shroud runners leaving the table, coming back on, doing little actions for you, maybe stripping cover, and then letting the bigger units do the damage.
Yeah, it's seen a whole army of bikes. It's going to be good to see a different way of playing Aeldari, and this one's definitely a highlight so far. What's the next detachment?
Okay, Joel, the next one is called the Spirit Conclave, okay? And this Shepherds of the Dead, all right?
Right.
Is their detachment rule.
That's great.
Yep, exactly that. Now, each time an Azarani Psycho model is destroyed, that enemy unit gets what's called like a Vengeful Dead token, okay? And each time a Wraith Construct model from your army, basically decides to fight it, +1 to hit and wound against that target.
They've got judgment tokens.
Yeah, basically.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So the flock don't like it when the shepherds die, basically.
Yeah.
Now, you also get the following ability for your Azarani Psycho models. While a Wraith Guard, Wraith Blade, or Wraith Lord units are within 12, then they gain battle focus.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, right. So there's going to be some really good combos, I think, when you start to look into that you can do with these units, right?
Exactly.
Right. We're still some of them still do exclude the Wraith Knight, though. So it's important to say that.
Yeah, so those things aren't getting any battle focus abilities, but these now units do. So that's going to give them those, +2 extra on the move, etc. Brilliant. Okay, now also Wraith Blades and Wraith Guard gain battle line.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
But enhancement time. All right, okay. So Spirit Seer model in your command phase, select one Wraith Construct unit within 12. You add +1 OC to infantry models, okay, and +3 to monsters. So the Wraith Lord goes up 3, normal infantry get +1, which, is all right. The next one's called the Stave of Kurnos. Basically, you pick a construct unit within 12 inches, excluding Wraith units, and then you basically, on a critical wound, you have precision on your unit.
So it's good on, normally when we've spoken about precision and stuff, we can get it in combat very easily, but getting it on shooting attacks can actually be very strong. Where can you see this being best used?
Well, I think just being able to, for example, blow out those massively devastating characters in the shooting phase and then charging it later on with like a unit of Wraith Blades could be really good. So you could use your Wraith Guard that get all the damaging attacks to kill the character. Now all of a sudden maybe it's no longer -1 to wound or whatever that ability is having.
Like the Wraiths from the Necrons, right?
Exactly.
You can get rid of the Technomancer, get out the Feel No Pain before you get into combat, and then just wreck face in combat.
And you only need kind of one of those cannons to go through, and it will do a lot of damage. So I quite like that. The next one is called the Rune of Mists. All right, this allows you pick a construct unit within 12 inches, and unless the bearer or the unit, is within 18 inches of the enemy, you'll get cover. So it's okay, but the 18 inches, I think there is
Bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I think just if it was just they have cover would have been probably fine. But there we go. Now, the next one is called Higher Duty. Spirit Seer model only. In all of these are Spirit Seers, by the way. You can't take it on anything else. You get a reactive move. When an opponent, ends a normal move, fallback move within 9 inches of you, you can move 6 inches.
For the Wraith, the leader himself or the unit, sorry.
Only the Spirit Seer.
Only.
Because everybody, Spirit Seers can no longer join Wraith units.
Right, okay, so we haven't got any characters then that can attach to these Wraith bricks.
No.
We're going to have to buff them outside using external auras or stuff like that.
Now, don't worry, Spirit Seers, when within 3 inches of a Wraith unit, gain Lone Operative.
Nice.
So they're not going to get just shot straight away and die. Yeah, they get Lone Operative.
They can just run away with that reactor move.
Think of them more like a Tech Marine.
Sure.
Yeah, so when they buff up, and that's exactly what they do, is they pick units and buff it up and heal it, and they're kind of like the Tech Marines of Wraith units.
Okay,
interesting. All right? Think of it like that. All right, stratagem time. Okay, this allows you to pick it's called the Seer's Eye. You have a Psycho model, you pick a Wraith Construct unit within 12 inches. That Wraith Construct unit ignores all modifiers to armor penetration and damage characteristics.
Holy smokes.
Exactly.
That's good.
That is really good.
Yeah, so no -1 damage or anything like that.
Get wreck Catans.
Yeah. This is the delete Catan stratagem, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Don't worry about armor contempting against this.
No,
Ain't going to work.
no, that's really good.
It's good. Right, the next one is called Wraith Bone Armor. Wraith Construct Unit, excluding Titanics. -1 damage.
In the shooting phase and fight phase?
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's very good.
Yep.
Yeah. I first read this attachment, didn't like it.
Now you're reading it and you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
it's pretty saucy.
Blades from Beyond.
Right.
Your Wraith, Blades, and Wraith Lords or Wraith Knight. And now Wraith Knights are split into 2 different data sheets now. So you've got Wraith Knight basically with a sword and a shield, and the other one with guns. Think of it like that. They're different data sheets. Fight phase, devastating wounds.
Right. That's pretty strong.
On Wraith Blades could be good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Soul Bridge, all right? Now, in your command phase, a Wraith Blade, Wraith Guard, or Wraith Lord unit from your army, and 1 Psyker model, basically the Spirit Seer, all right? Until the next command phase, you are considered to be within 12 inches of Psyker models for the purposes of Psychic Guidance and Spirit Guide abilities. So what this will give you, to recap, is +1 to hit for your unit anywhere on the table, and also the battle focus element. What it doesn't do is drag over the Spirit Seer's ability, which gives you sustained hits. You still need to be within the 6 inches to get the sustained hits from the Spirit Seer.
Okay, so we can at least get the detachment ability outside of the normal range that we would do, right?
Exactly that.
Okay.
And also the pluses to hit, which is
That's
also
good.
nice. Yeah, that's pretty good. Spirit token at the start of the movement phase. Select 1 Wraith Blade or Wraith Guard unit. Select 1 objective marker that you control, and it remains under your control. So
Sticky objectives.
Sticky objectives, as you might well know as. Next one is called Crushing Strides. Your charge phase, just after a Wraith Blade, Wraith Lord, Wraith unit has basically charged, you do a bunch of mortal wounds, in short. So depending on, you either add, a certain amount, you roll a certain number of dice. Think of it like a grenade strat on the charge, basically.
Well, that's good because we don't have grenades on Wraith units, right? So this allows us to get some way of doing mortal wounds outside of that.
Exactly that, yeah.
Well, add devastating wounds on as well with the stratagem. So there are quite a few ways to do mortal wounds in this detachment, actually.
Yep, but yeah, think of it like a impact type charge ability.
Okay, overall, now you've read it, are you going to play this detachment?
Oh, I think having the right units would be the key. It's going to be a hard army to collect. I don't have enough Wraith units to do it. I don't know. I'd be tempted to sort of proxy it, see how it works, and maybe then go for it. But I think the issue is you're only going to get the +1 to hit and wound when you lose your Psyker models. So you still need to include some, like, maybe really aggro farces just to move out there, go and do as much damage. Don't worry if they die. And then that's going to give your opponent a bit of a headache as to what they kill those farces with, because whatever does, then they're going to get that +1 to hit and wound against them for the rest of the game.
Yeah, sacrifice the farces, get army buffs.
But maybe not even worrying about that element of the detachment rule, in just focusing on the, maybe having battle focus on the Wraith Guard might be enough to make this attachment really strong. And the stratagems, because the stratagems are good.
And it's all points dependent as well on how much points the units are going to be. Because a battle line and Wraith Guard, and stuff, they could be like 200, 300 points potentially, right? So there's always something to bear in mind.
One thing I will say as well, Wraith Blade, Wraith Guard, maximum squad size is now 5.
Interesting.
No more 10-man teams.
Yeah, because we were seeing that quite a lot in the index, especially early index when we was getting like the 10 Wraith Guard with the Spirits here. Okay, right. Good change or bad change?
I think this is a much better change. I really do. Can be less toxic, I think, especially with the -1 damage stratagem. Otherwise, that'd been brutal.
Yeah, it would have been brutal.
Yeah.
And the ignore modifiers and the death wounds, just all the other stuff you have.
Exactly. On 5, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd start to see these stratagems cost 2 CPs.
Yeah,
and it'd still be difficult to play around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's look at the next attachment. What is it?
Okay, this is Guardian Battlehost. I first writ this one off as being absolutely hot garbage when I first read it, and I thought, no, Steve, you could do this. Keep reading.
It's a bit of a trend here, Steve.
Finding the combos, find them.
Yeah.
And I found them. Okay, so I'm actually going to do a list for members on this one. I don't even know I want to give it away. But I'll talk about it.
Secret.
I'll talk about
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Yeah, I don't want everyone using this attachment. It could be my favorite though. Okay, so it's my favorite because it's not obvious.
Right.
Each Dire Avenger or Guardian support weapon or war. So basically, Guardians, Dire Avengers, support weapons or War Walker models get this ability.
Cool.
I will say this now. Support weapons you can no longer take as individual units. They have to join Guardian units.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Now, If that model unit is within the target of an objective mark, you add 1 to the hit roll. Okay.
Okay, we've seen this with Star Shatter Arsenal for the Necrons as well. It's a very powerful ability, but we're just getting on a select few units here, right?
But this works whether you're on an objective or your opponent is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit better.
If that model's unit or the target unit are within range of 1 or more objectives, you get +1 hit. So you don't need to control it, just be within range of it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Get a model on, get +1 hit.
Hitting on 2s for most Aeldari units is pretty good.
Pretty tasty. Now, the next one, enhancements. One of your Azarani models can have objective control 5. That's okay. I'd actually like that on a little bike Seer, just flying around. Doot, that's mine. OC6. Yeah, I'll have that off you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheeky.
No more Terraform for you, young man, or whatever that might be. Yeah, so you got it. Ethereal Pathway. Any model can take this. Now, in your deploying army step, 2 Guardian units can basically have Infiltrate.
Saucy.
This is an absolute banger.
That's good.
Taking this, also include straight in the basket. Right, next up, the Protector of Paths, Azarani model. Whilst you're leading a unit, Dire Avengers and Guardian models, once per battle round, can fire Overwatch for 0 CP, and also you basically get Overwatch on 5s, or 4 if you're within range and objective marker that you control.
Okay, well, that is really strong, though, off the bat, right?
Yeah, so your Dire Avengers could be Overwatch in 4s. You can attach an Autark in here. There we go. New little spoiler alert. Autarks can now join any of the Aspect Warriors like they should. They've done all the pathways. They have the knowledge. Why can't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of foot Autarks now running around the place. And the winged Autarks, okay, they're no longer lone operative. They can now join Swooping Hawks or Warp Spiders. So that's cool.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and you can model them as well, can't you, in the kits with the whatever gear they need.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So massive
Good
changes
change.
there. Okay, the Breath of Val. Azarani model only, when you are leading a Storm Guardian unit, you can basically re-roll the number of model of shots, okay, through your flamers, and also damage rolls on your fusion guns. And I believe it's two of each that you can take in the unit. Okay, now of course the actual Autark itself could also take a fusion gun as well. So that just gives a little bit more damage output to those types of units.
Do you think Storm Guardians are going to be seen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, right,
Yes.
interesting. Because we haven't seen them in the index, have we, Storm Guardians, really?
They get sticky objectives,
Nice.
and 2 flamers, 2 melter guns in this detachment with +1 to hit isn't too bad.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, especially for their points. They're very, very good. Right, next one. Okay, so the stratagem time, we got warding salvos. I absolutely love this. Shooting or fight phase. Guardian, or you'll see this sort of trend. Most of these are Guardian or Dire Avenger units. You can re-roll the wound roll, okay, when until the end of the phase, you target an enemy unit that's in range of 1 or more objective markers. So you get +1 to hit and re-roll wounds against an enemy that's on objective.
Yeah, just get off the objective.
Shooting or fight phase.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, cool. This could also work on Azerman in combat. That'll be belting. Right, so next up is Shield Gnomes. Okay, Dire Avengers or Guardians units, subtract 1 from the wound roll in the shooting or fight phase.
So I think this is actually really good on them, because T3 models with -1 to wounds actually is a pain to deal with.
It is, yeah. It's really, really good, yeah. So that's pretty good. Then we got Vol's Vengeance. Okay, after the shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy unit is destroyed, a Dire Avenger or Guardian unit, 1 Warwalker unit can basically target that and shoot it. This is the only time I think I can see play for taking a max unit of 2.
Right.
Because you'd be like, okay, 2 Warwalkers shooting your enemy is actually quite good. Normally, I'd just take single ones just to trigger extra AP here, there, and everywhere. But a unit of 2 is a bit of an anchor point for this army, could be quite good.
And what weapon loadout for them?
I think you can't get wrong with Bright Lancers, personally. Cool. 4 Bright Lancers shooting back at you is quite scary.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Time to Strike is the next one. This is incredible. Storm Guardians, you can basically, you don't make an advance roll, you just add 6 to the movement characteristics, and you can still shoot and charge, in which to turn it advanced.
Well, that's a double combo there, isn't it? That's really good.
Yes.
Yeah, normally this is 2 separate stratagems.
So you give it +2 move, move 7, so you move 9 inches from Infiltrate, auto advance 6, now shoot.
Yeah.
Now, my little hot sauce. Oh, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to keep it, actually.
You can't leave us on suspense, Steve.
Oh,
Well, you can.
I am.
What's the next one?
Okay, Blades of Azeroth. I can't give everything away, Jordan.
No, I know.
I got to have some fun for myself.
I know.
Right. Blades. All right, I'll tell you. Right, it's the Warlock Conclave.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I really like this. Now, you'll see there's actually an FAQ.
Mhm.
Okay, so whatever you're reading here isn't quite right, because before you could actually give Warlock Conclave models enhancements because they have the character keyword.
Sure.
That's been removed from them. And you could have also before put a Farseer with a Warlock Conclave, and then the Warlock Conclave and Farseer joined a Guardian unit.
So you could have double enhancement on a Guardian unit.
Would have been so good.
I'm glad they FAQ'd that.
So that's not the case anymore.
Okay.
You can still be, your Warlock Conclave model can still be attached to the following Guardian Defenders or Storm Guardians, though.
With a Farseer in addition?
No.
Okay, so just on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe how that's now been worked, yeah.
And what's the source here?
Okay, so you can take up a unit of 4, and I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, if your opponent's on an objective, or you are, you get the benefit of +1 to hit. Now, you get torrent weapons anyway.
Right.
But the rest of the unit getting +1 to hit, the Storm Guardians, with the Flamers, the Melter Guns, whatever, there's 46 Flamers in this unit. Yeah. And it's strength 5, -1 damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you can hit it with a War Walker first, now it's AP 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Some Shroud Runners, strip some cover. And also you can re-roll the wound roll, which I think is absolutely incredible with this unit. And not only that, though, for each Psyker model, their ability is they add +1 attack and strength to the Destructor model, up to a maximum of 2. So you actually go up to strength 7.
Strength 7 Flamers.
It's D6. It'd be D6 plus 2 attacks each. So it's 4d6 plus 8. Strength 7, AP 1 damage attacks, yeah.
You're wounding Custodians on 4s with rerolls to wound with that stratagem.
And then when they move, you Overwatch.
Yeah.
The next unit. Savage.
That's really savage.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't give them the enhancements anymore. Because I was going to have my reroll Flamers and...
Maybe they thought about that and was like,
Who
let's
knows?
take away the source from Steve.
There we go.
Yeah.
Next up, the Blades of Azeroth in the shooting phase. Guardians of Dire Avenger, basically, you get the pistol ability.
So you can shoot in combat.
Yeah, not great. There we go. Cost of victory, end of the fight, phase 1 Guardian unit can be put back into strategic reserves. And if your unit is within engagement range of one of enemy units, as long as it's not, basically, you go into strategic reserve. And when doing so, return every destroyed Guardian model to your unit. So you need one model alive.
It goes in reserve,
Yep.
comes back with a 10-man unit.
Well, with another 9, yeah.
Another 9, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
all right, isn't it?
strong. Yeah.
It's
really
all right,
good.
that.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to say beforehand, before you mentioned the last bit,
Mhm.
it's not really worth it. But then now you bring in a whole unit back, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, yeah. Now onto the Harlequins. The
Yes.
Ghosts of the Webway.
Nice.
Right, now, okay, so each time a Harlequin model from your army makes a charge, it can move through enemy models.
That's good.
Yeah, it means you could just jump over enemy. You can't just get move blocked anymore.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
It's okay. Next up, because you're taking this detachment, your troop units gain battle line.
Mhm.
And also, you go up to OC2, okay, on your troop.
Okay.
And you can include up to 3 each of the following models. Death Jester, Shadow Seers, Troop Masters.
Is there limits to that normally?
Yeah,
Ah,
you can only take 1.
interesting.
Yeah, so if you want to take multiple, Death Jesters and whatnot, this is the attachment that you have to play.
So I guess that's allowing us to actually field a Harlequin army
Mm-hmm.
rather than having the restrictions there.
And it will make taking Harlequins feel like an ally in a normal Warhost or whatever.
Sure.
Enhancement time. Troop Master. Basically, what happens here is each time the barrier unit end a charge, you do some mortal wounds.
If you got spare points, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's all right. You can, it caps it basically 6, okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you have to, it works the same way as how your jump pack for Space Marines work. It's for every single model in your unit. So obviously if you've got 13 models, so Troop Master plus 12 Troop, you should do the 6 mortal wounds on average. Just not bad.
And they've got grenades as well, so you could grenade, do this.
I think you probably take it on a
Yeah.
big unit.
Absolutely.
For a flat 6 mortal wounds on a unit is nice.
Mm.
Okay, Masks of Secret. Okay, so Harlequin model only. Each time an enemy unit, excluding monsters or vehicles, as with engagement range, makes a fallback move, you can basically make it take a desperate break test. And when doing so, if it's battle shocked, subtract another additional 1 from that result.
I really like this one.
Okay.
And I think we in the World Eaters as well with Exalted 8 bound, this can actually be an absolute nuisance. Things like Custodies will hate this.
Yeah.
Because you just lose a model. There's no saves involved, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just dead,
Yeah.
which is horrible. Murder's Jest as well. Basically, a Death Jester. Each time the bearer makes an attack that targets a unit below half strength, every successful hit is a critical hit. But it has to be below starting strength.
Yeah, so early game it's probably not going to be as prevalent, but later on you're going to start picking up these units a lot easier.
Yeah, and remember the Death Jester gets the ability to pick sustained 3 on its shots. It's still kept that, so that now means with its 3 shots, you should basically score
12.
Yeah, it's quite good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of shots for that for
like
one
flat
model.
2 damage, right?
Strength 6, AB 2 damage. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
damn.
Mm.
That's just mowing up Space Marines.
It's good. But remember, you got to be below half.
Yeah.
So if you're below half, you now got 4 Space Marines out of 10. And let's be honest, who's taking 10 anyway? So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's kind of overkill at that point.
Yeah.
Next one is called the Mistave Shadow Seer model only. While it's leading a model, it has the Infiltrate ability.
Ooh.
So you can give some Harlequins Infiltrate.
That's
We've
good.
seen this in the detachment, though, for
Reaper's Jest.
Reaper's Jest.
Or whatever it is. That one. Yeah, but the mix of Drakari and Harlequins one, really good.
And it'd be interesting to revisit that detachment with these changes to obviously the unit rules as well to see maybe how that plays out.
Because Harlequins have had some massive changes right in this codex.
Yeah, there is obviously quite a lot aside from the ones which only allow you to take one of each of the characters now. There are, huge changes. The Death Jester is essentially the same as he was in the Index, which means he can pick from different abilities before he fights, and he also causes battle shock. The most significant there is the extra shots for sustain 3. That's fantastic. I think that's the one I would use most. The Troop Master gives a unit reroll 1s to hit and wound.
Okay, that's a big change.
Yep, that's really, really good for him. And also, he has another ability as well.
Okay, what's that one, Steve?
Well, this one is the most significant for me. It allows the unit to pile in 6 inches instead of 3, and also consolidate. And it doesn't have to be towards the closest enemy model either.
Interesting. So does that mean we can get around the normal rules for piling?
Exactly that. It just allows you to essentially change the way. It might mean you can like wrap units a little bit better, or move into units that you might not have even been engagement range first of. So I think for me, it really allows you to manipulate the fight phase as Harlequins probably should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, especially in their detachment as well, we're going to see a lot of movement shenanigans that we can do here. It's definitely going to be a very interesting way to play Harlequins.
Yeah, they still have flip belts, which means they can ignore vertical distances, but there's no advance in charge.
Right, okay.
However, the weapons have devastating wounds built in. So, for example, the Troop Master's Blade already has that, same as the Harlequin special weapon.
Yeah, and like the troop themselves, they've had a change as well, haven't they? Their datasheet ability.
Yeah, so at the start of the fight phase, they can pick from 1 of 3 abilities. They can have reroll hits of 1, which already the Troop Master gives you, but obviously then if you're taking multiple units, that might be a good way to go. Similar to how Blade Guard can pick an ability, they could also be -1 to hit, or they can have add 1 to the wound roll.
Okay, I mean, the +1 to wound probably is going to be the one you use almost every time in the fight phase,
Especially with Troop Masters. If you
Yeah.
take 3 of those, you'd send the whole unit in, +1 to wound, get as much out of that as possible. What I really like about the Shadow Seer, though, is that the Shadow Seer creates all enemy weapons as hazardous.
Interesting.
Yep, so that's a nice deterrent there to actually charge a Shadow Seer unit. And also the Shadow Seer gives Lone Operative 18 to the unit as well.
That's pretty a strong ability to have on the unit, isn't it?
It means that we could have 3 Shadow Seer units that are defensive, 3 that are aggressive with Troop Masters, and now all of a sudden you're in a place where you could charge, and then if you're interrupted, you could still fight on death, or maybe you're making all the enemy weapons hazardous, they've got to get within 18 inches to shoot you. The Solitaire is still an absolute weapon with 9 attacks base. It's strength 6, -2 damage, and then it can add 2d6 to its movement characteristics, and 3 as well. And he can actually charge in a turn which he advanced.
Yeah.
So he is like an absolute rocket with a base move of 12 inches.
Yeah, and an epic challenge as well on him as well. He's just going to snipe out enemy characters for you.
Yeah.
Potentially get him back up as well with the stratagem and the Harlequin detachment, like you mentioned.
And do it all again.
Do it all again.
Now, Sky Weavers, they're -1 to hit. Void Weavers, they've got a different ability. They can only be selected when the enemy is within range of 18 inches. So they get Lone Op 18.
Interesting.
Their weapons are okay as well, like the prismatic cannon's all right. And then the Star Weavers, have firing dex 6, and also at the end of the fight phase, a troop unit can jump back in, providing that it's empty.
The Void Weaver one's very interesting, especially if you combo it with the Shadow Weavers as well.
Yeah.
You're going to see these like anti-shooting armies, I would guess. And then when you add on to the maneuverability function of the army rule, you can no overwatch them as well.
Yeah.
Really, really strong there.
Really pull the enemy in nice and close, and then your counteractive units can then get into the fight.
Yeah, I like that.
So next up, I want to take a look at Seer Council. So this detachment is all about Psykers. It's called the Seer Council, and it's similar in a way to Fate Dice, because that's exactly what you get in this detachment.
Oh, right. So they are in the Codex.
Fate Dice are back.
Right.
Now, in a Strike Force game, you're going to roll 6. Each of these represent a number. Each of these numbers represent a stratagem that you can use for free, or basically reduce the cost of the CP by 1.
Oh, so it's different. You're not flipping dice to 6s. You're just manipulating stratagems.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems a bit cooler.
Exactly. So you get 6 stratagems essentially for free, because most of them cost a CP.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get to the stratagems in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else on the army rule that we need to look at here?
That's
or
it.
Detachment rule. Sorry.
That's it.
Okay.
So 6 free stratagems. But the only way you can use them is by rolling those dice. So you might not get the one you really want to use for free. You'll just have to spend a CP when you come to use it.
Interesting. Well, let's have a look at the enhancements. What's the first one?
Okay, so the first one is for all of these are for Psyche units only. Azarani, so that you can't put this on Shadow Seers, for example, because, for example, Shadow Seers do not have the Azarani keyword. All right. In your command phase, you can add or subtract 1 from the value of one of the fate dice from your pool. So you can manipulate the fate dice that you've got.
So it's probably an auto include, right? Just to guarantee you're getting the detachment ability that you really want.
Yeah, exactly that. Azarani Psyker, models in the bearer's unit have a 4+ feel no pain against mortal wounds, psychic attacks, and critical wounds caused by the devastating wound ability. So 4+ feel no pain against psychic and mortal wounds.
That's not bad.
It's all right, yep. Azarani model, add 12 inches to a range of psychic weapons equipped by the bearer.
So like 24-inch weapons on like your farsighted shots.
Yep.
Cool.
It's okay. Azarani Psycho model, once per turn, when your opponent targets a unit within 12 of the bearer with a stratagem, the bearer can use this enhancement if it does increase the CP cost of that stratagem by 1.
That's
so
good.
So it's like a vect.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So it means your opponent's stratagems cost more.
Okay.
All right. Stratagem time.
Yeah, what can we manipulate for free here?
Well, basically, you've got 6 stratagems. All of them have associated number attached to it. So depending on what you roll is what you'd be able to use for free. Of course, you can still use it anyway. But it doesn't mean you can double up either. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So presentment of dread. Command phase, 1 Azarani Psycho model. Select 1 enemy unit with an 18 and must take a battle shock check, subtracting 1 from the result.
The subtracting 1 is nice. I think if it didn't have that, this would be probably one of the most worst stratagems out there. But actually having that, potentially you could see play here.
Yeah, if you know there's that unit that really wants to use a defensive stratagem against you, it might be worth it. You're putting it on essentially for a 50-50, unless there's any other ways to reduce people's leadership, which then might have some utility. Okay, so forewarned. Fight phase, just after an enemy unit selected as targets 1 Azarani infantry unit from your army, excluding Wraith constructs, that was selected as a target and is within 9 of a Psyker. So can't be a Wraith, got to be in combat, and also within 9 of a Psyker. Until the end of that phase, subtract 1 from the hit and wound roll.
So you can keep you guys alive a little bit longer, potentially.
Yep, it's pretty good. That is pretty good. You can't use this on the avatar.
Okay.
And there's no other way to give him -1 to wound either, which is also a big change.
That is a big change, actually. No more just comboing in with the Farseer.
Exactly. Your movement phase, Azarani infantry unit, again, excluding Wraith, and within 9 of a Psyker as well. Remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 away. So this is actually in the movement phase. This isn't uppy-downy. This is instantly get off the table, come back on. This is one of the best stratagems for mission play in the book.
Agreed. Yeah, this is very strong.
Next up is Fate Inescapable, your shooting phase. 1 Azarani infantry unit from your army, excluding Wraith, and within 9 of a Azarani Psyker. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons have ignores cover. Okay, and each time a critical wound, you increase the AP by 1.
So combo this with a Warwalker, get AP2 potentially, but guaranteed AP1 ignores cover.
The only AP1 is, yes, guaranteed, and then it's only on a critical wound you get the additional AP.
Yeah.
Yep, you got that. And that's on any Azarani infantry unit. So with Dire Avengers, I get 4 shots each with sustained. This is now 40 shots coming in with sustained hits.
Ooh,
pretty good with
spicy.
ignores cover and extra AP. Very, very nice. Shy's Fury, your movement phase, basically when your opponent ends a normal or fallback move, one Azarani Psycho model within 9. It's not a reactive move.
Mm-hmm.
What it is, though, is you roll 6d6 for each 3+, you take a mortal wound. So it's like a grenade strat as they get near you.
Like a better grenade strat.
Yeah, because it's on a 3+.
Yeah.
Psychic Shield, excluding Wraith, infantry, shooting phase only, within 9 of an Azarani unit, it can't be targeted unless you're within 18. So lone op 18 for some of your infantry units.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So this is an okay detachment.
Yeah, when we look at it over the other detachments, this is probably the worst one I've seen, but doesn't mean it's like unusable, right?
I would agree with that comment.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of restrictions here, not on Wraiths, within 9 of Psychers, and none of these, I think apart from the mission play one, none of them are absolutely outstanding. -1 to hit and wound is really nice. That's really, really good. But enough volume of attacks in the fight phase should kill most
But also,
of your elf units anyway.
It's only going to work into bespoke matchups that actually want to kill you in combat, whereas if you go into a shooting army, it's not going to work.
Exactly that, right. Okay, the next one. And this is the last one of the generic Aeldari detachments.
Okay, is this going to be your favourite?
Oh, it's up there. This is like Beltan.
Okay.
Or Biltan.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. This is the Aspect Host detachment.
Right.
Each time an Aspect Warrior or Avatar of Cain unit from your army is selected to shoot or fight, select one of the abilities below. Reroll 1s to hit or reroll 1s to wound.
Well, you're most definitely going for the wounds, right?
I don't know.
Yeah?
You're better off getting hits in.
True.
You're also better off getting hits in if you've got sustained or lethal.
Okay, nice. I like the combos.
Yep, so I think reroll hits of 1 is always better, personally. Right, enhancement times. Aspects of Murder. Autarch or Wayleaper model only, +1 damage to the melee characteristics, and you have precision. So if you take the normal glaive, it's flat 2, goes up to flat 3.
With precision built in.
With precision built in. This actually makes the Scorpion's Chainsword very strong as well, because you get loads of attacks for that. Damage 2 now becomes quite deadly. Okay, next up is called the Mantle of Wisdom. Autarch or Wayleaper only, whilst the bear is leading an aspect unit each time you're selected to shoot or fight until the end of the phase. Models in that unit gain both abilities, so you get reroll hits of 1 and wound.
Okay, you probably take this in every list, right?
Probably do, yeah.
Yeah.
Shimmerstone, Autarch or Wayleaper, while is leading the unit, each time a ranged attack targets unit, subtract from the 1 from the wound roll. Again, pretty much another auto include, I would say. Finally, +1 to the OC of your units, Autarch or Wayleaper only.
I mean, that's pretty good considering all aspects are OC1, right? Obviously bar the shining spears, but that at least gives you something that's OC2 with a detachment that is based around having aspect units.
I could see this being played on, for example, a unit of Swooping Hawks. That just be able to move over and steal objectives really easily.
Yeah.
So I can sabotage that objective, which is nice. Okay, time for the stratagems. There's one absolutely epic but also terrible stratagem in this book.
Okay.
I know we're probably going to argue about it because you and me play the game very differently.
Yes.
So the first one is called Warrior Focus. What your shooting or fight phase, you can select an aspect or Avatar of Cain model until the end of the phase. This is the best stratagem in my mind. You ignore ballistic skill, weapon skill, armor, strength, damage characteristics, or any all hit roll modifiers.
Right, so you can use this on the Avatar?
Yes.
Sick.
Yes. This is very good. Just ignore all debuffs.
Yeah.
Love it. I absolutely love that for a CP.
Very, very strong. For 1 CP, it's very strong.
Yeah, and I think it's extremely fitting for what should be elite level warriors as well.
Especially the Avatar.
Right, to their final breath. Now, a lot of these stratagems also are dependent on the little kind of aspect shrines. So they now actually have a role in the units.
Right, the tokens.
Yeah, the little tokens. You can take 1 per 5, and once per battle, you can get rid of the token or the shrine, and you can turn a dice roll to a 6. And it's normally like a hit, a wound, or a damage, I believe.
So you basically got fake dice built into the profiles.
Yes, but only once per game, per unit.
Okay.
All right?
Right.
You can't do this on your D cannons.
Yes.
They don't have it. It's only on the aspect units. Okay, so each time you use the stratagem, you can also burn a shrine. You get a better ability, and you'll see that trend throughout, okay? Now, on a 4+, you fart on death. But if you burn a shrine, you also get it on a 3+.
It's probably not worth burning it for a 3+, right?
It depends.
Okay. Right.
You get charged by, and let's say you got like a big unit striking scorpions. Absolutely.
Sure.
Because turning a dice to a 6 isn't that great for unit striking scorpions. But fighting on death on a 3+ absolutely is.
Okay. Right.
So it is going to be situational depending on the unit that you do it with. For example, you charge my Shining Spears, 100% am I going to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't even think they have an aspect shrine, so they can't.
No? All right.
Yeah. But if they could, I would.
If they could, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it.
Okay, Skyborn Sanctuary, end of the fight phase, 1 Azrani unit, and 1 friendly transport. You can basically embark with it, providing you're wholly within 6. We've seen this strat before, but they've also got it here as well.
Okay, right.
All right.
We're probably going to see like fire dragons jumping out of like falcons and things, aren't we? And things like that. So really good strat to have.
And that's it. You could jump out of a falcon, shoot a unit dead, end of the fight phase, move back in.
Yeah.
It's good. Really nice. Okay, Doom Inescapable. Okay. Your shooting phase. This is the one, Jordan, that you're going to love, and I just think it's pretty terrible.
Okay, right.
But epic.
I do love epic strats.
1 avatar model from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase.
Oh.
Until the end of this phase, Jord, your Wailing Doom ranged attack, like the big spear, has a range of 18.
Yes. Nice.
And a damage characteristic of flat 8.
Get wrecked.
Now it does have sustained D3.
Yeah, and I am notorious for rolling 6s on sustained D3 weapons.
You're going to roll. I would roll a 1 every time.
I'm rolling a 6 every time.
Which is why I know I'd spend a CP, miss, and then be like, oh, great.
I hate this stratagem.
I hate this stratagem, yeah. So I don't think...
reroll ones to hit.
I could reroll ones to hit. It's probably not a bad idea with me, yeah. Okay, so, and then my opponent just roll a 4 up in, but anyway.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is in the shooting phase. Again, you can either have ignores cover, lethal, or sustained. If you burn a little shrine, though, you can have 2 of them.
So you can just have lethal and sustained if you burn a shrine on any of your aspect units.
Yeah, now, Dire Avengers already get sustained.
Right.
If you get within a certain range. So then you could pick ignores cover and lethal. Okay?
I see. Right, yeah.
Now, I will give a shout out to Spider-Man.
Lickis.
Whatever.
Yeah.
However you pronounce it. Once that's finished targeting a unit, it gives whatever else targets that unit crits on 5s. So now you could have lethal and sustained on 5s and ignores cover on a unit of Dire Avengers.
I mean, as well, we can also just strip cover using the shrouds.
Yeah.
Runners.
I think you just do this.
You could do this. Like, there's so many ways to get these abilities in this codex, but you've just got it in a strat all in one.
Mm-hmm. Great stratagem.
Great strat. Really strong stratagem.
Great stratagem. Or, for example, Swooping Hawks that already have lethal, you pick sustained and ignores cover.
Yeah. And then Warwalker get the AP.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, you're getting it. You're becoming an Eldar player already, Jord.
My 1 brain cell's just developed into 2. Yeah.
Right. Kane's Vengeance. Okay. Your opponent's movement phase just after a unit is selected to fall back, excluding monsters and vehicles. 1 aspect unit or Avatar of Kane. All models, then must take a desperate escape test and subtract 1 from those as well.
I mean, we've mentioned it before with like on custodies and things. Like,
it's okay.
It's good on those higher elite units, but other than that, sure.
And then there's finally 1 detachment.
Okay.
Which is Ynniad.
Yes.
Devoted of
Ynniad,
whatever.
Well,
right.
Ynniad, I think it is.
Who cares? So detachment. Right. Strength from death. You can use one of the following rules. At the end of your opponent's fight phase. Sorry, let's do that again. You can use one of these following rules. Lethal intent. Okay, it's my intention to kill you.
Right.
Right. At the end, lethally. At the end of the opponent's shooting phase, if one or more Ynniad units from your army were destroyed, okay, that unit can make a normal move. Not the unit that died, obviously.
Just move a dead unit.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this good?
Think about it.
I'm trying.
So you've shot me.
Yep.
You've killed one of my units. You've just set up a charge against me, Jord.
Yep.
I'm now making a normal move. I'm out of there. I'm gone.
Gone.
So you've just set up. Maybe you've come down from deep strike, Jord, and you're, hoping to roll a 9 inches.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
You are.
Mm.
But the unit that's within 9 is just now moved 7 inches away.
Oof. Okay. Yep, you sold me. It's good. It's good.
Good, right?
Yeah, and
Very
then you've
good.
obviously got your agile maneuvers as well, so you can do that in other phases
Mhm.
on top of this. Ow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Or maybe you don't have any charges,
Mm.
but I've got like a really good combat unit, like Shining Spears.
Yeah.
And then we know it's going into my turn next. I'm going to move my Shining Spears 12 inches forward.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to charge. Then I'm going to move in my turn and then charge you.
Yeah, that's
Savage.
savage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, you can also have a lethal surge. Once per turn, when a Ynniad unit from your army performs a fade back agile maneuver, it can make a lethal surge move instead of a normal move. If it does so, add 1 to the result as well, and that unit can be moved a number of inches up to the total. When doing so, you can actually move an engagement range.
So you basically get a surge move, but it's not a stated surge move, right?
Yeah.
So does this mean this would get around the surge move FAQs from the balanced data slate?
It says once per turn, so it'd actually be the same.
Okay, it'd be exactly the same. Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so lethal reprisal. At the start of the fight phase, select 1 Ynniad unit that is below starting strength. I've now got fight first.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No chip damage for you, sir.
No.
Unless you want to give me fights first.
I don't. I'm telling you that now. Wow. I mean, because what we got to think about here with Ynniad is we have the Drakari data sheets, Incubi, Archons, as well as all of the
Which
obviously
units?
Eldari units as well.
Yep.
So there's so much to look at here that you've got lots of options for these.
Now, how this works is you can include Ynniad units in your army. This is the only time you can. Okay, even though they don't have the Azarani faction keyword. Okay, so the next part is Azarani units, excluding epic heroes, gain the Ynniad keyword, which would mean that some of the stratagems you might be able to play on some of your characters, for example, if there's any triggers there.
Okay, interesting. Any other restrictions we have for this detachment?
Okay, yeah, you must include your Vrain and all the Incarn in your army, and one of those models must be your Warlord.
Okay, well, I mean, I'd kind of expect that really in this detachment, right?
Yeah. So enhancements. A Farseer, their Eldritch Storm can have devastating wounds.
Okay, nice.
All right.
Yeah.
A Warlock model in their shooting phase, just after the bear is shocked, the opponent must take a battle shock check. It's okay.
Yeah.
Depending on the points of it. Borrowed Vigor, Archon, add 2 to the attack's characteristics. And then a Succubus, each time you make a wound, you can re-roll the wound.
I mean, that's pretty good. Witches do get quite a few attacks.
It's only on the model, though.
Oh, only on the model. Right. Okay.
Not great.
Yeah, sure.
I think they're all pretty weak, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say any of them are standouts.
No. Stratagems. Okay, any phase, 1 Ynniad unit that was just destroyed while it was within range of 1 or more objectives, it remains under your control. So sticky objectives, always pretty good. Okay, your shooting phase or fight phase just after enemy unit selected its targets, infantry or mounted. Of course, like Ynniad infantry or mounted. That was selected as a target, -1 to wound.
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Fight phase, just after Ynniad unit is selected to fight, basically, each time a model is selected to fight, reroll a hit of 1. If your unit is below starting strength, you can reroll the hit instead.
Okay. I mean, reroll hits of 1 is good.
I think that as a staple's nice.
Yeah.
And if you lost a model, you get full rerolls to hit.
Oh, yeah, if you just lose 1, if you just lose 1, it's good. Oh, that's not bad then.
I think that's really good.
really good.
Because if your opponent decides to Overwatch you now, you might end up gaining more successful hits by losing a model and getting full rerolls to hit than you would have, just having a full unit.
Yeah, no,
so it's pretty good. Parting the Veil. Fight phase just after an enemy unit is selected as targets. You basically get full fight on death for 2 CPs.
Sure. I mean, 2 CPs is quite expensive for something like this, right?
Yeah, but full fight on death on Incubi or Banshees could be pretty good.
Yeah, Incubi definitely.
Because there's no roll on it.
Yeah, true.
It is happening.
Yeah. You are fighting on death.
Yeah, it's better than an interrupt if your opponent's only ever made 1 charge.
Yeah.
And there are a lot less combat units in the game as it currently speaks. So if somebody is making a charge and you got 2 CPs, you will 100% play it.
Yeah, true.
Because you could wipe out the unit that's just charged you.
Yeah, it's all. I guess I didn't really consider the fact that, like, when you compare it to interrupt, the two, when you look at them side by side, definitely.
So the next one is Soul Sight, 1 CP or shooting phase, 1 Ynniad unit that has not been selected to shoot. You get lethal and ignores cover. So your Dire Avengers now, they could have sustained and lethal and ignores cover still.
And then you combo that with a War Walker, get some extra AP.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pretty good.
It's very good. Right, next one is Death Answers Death. End of the shooting phase, 1 Ynniad unit, excluding constructs. If you were destroyed, if one or more models were destroyed, you can shoot back.
That's good.
But it just says your unit can shoot as if it was a shooting phase. You can actually shoot anyone.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah, because it depends on what it is as well, right? Like, could a Wraith Knight do this?
No.
Okay.
Because it excludes Wraith constructs.
Cool. Obviously, I was being an idiot and ignored that part.
And also, if you lost one or more models from your Wraith Knight,
you'd be dead.
You'd have 0 models left to shoot.
That's maths.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But there we go.
Sick.
And that's why we do these reviews, guys. So we make the mistakes so you don't have to.
Exactly. If someone tries to shoot with a Wraith Knight that's dead,
don't let them do that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's have a quick look at some of the units that you can take as Ynniad, okay? Well, obviously, the first thing is you can take Yvraine, the Visarch, and also the Incarn. Big change on the Incarn, no more half damage. That is gone.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. Does the Avatar still have half damage?
Yes.
Right, so the Avatar still has it, but the Incarn doesn't.
Each time this model destroys an enemy unit, it gains D3 wounds.
That's not as good.
So that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Now, basically, if your army includes the Incarn, it cannot include any epic hero units, excluding Ynniad units. If your army includes any epic hero units, excluding Ynniad units, it cannot include the Incarn.
Oh, so if you took the Incarn, you couldn't have Assaman?
Correct.
Is the Avatar an epic hero?
Yes.
So you couldn't have the Avatar and the Incarn in the same list?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a pretty big change from the index.
And that also is the same for Yvraine.
Right.
And remember, if you want to take this detachment, you also have to take one of these two as your warlord.
So that is their way of stopping you from taking the Phoenix Lords in that detachment.
I just wish that rule was written in the detachment part.
Yeah, it does feel like, just looking at, I think we can say this as a blanket for a lot of these rules. There's so many intercrossing rules and data sheets and armies and stuff that it could have been a lot easier just having a blanket rule for all of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice little summary page is something we should probably do at some stage.
Yeah.
Now, the Visarch, again, same rule applies. The Visarch can also join with Yvraine. Right. It gives the unit fight first. It's lost its other ability, though. But it does have 3 different types of weapons you can now pick from.
Okay.
Okay, so it can either have sustained hits 2 with 8 attacks. You can have devastating wounds and precision with 6 attacks. Or you can have anti-epic hero +2 with precision with 4 attacks, but that's flat 3 damage. So you can choose how it wants to fight the Visarch, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also, while the model is leading unit, other characters have a 4+ feel no pain ability.
So he is actually a bodyguard now, which is what he should be, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Okay, so you can join Corsair, Void Reavers, Void Scarred, Defenders, Guardians, Ynniad Incubi, Ynniad Cabalite Warriors, Ynniad Witches. That goes for the same for Yvraine. Yvraine can also bring back models as well, like she could in the index. At the start of the fight phase, select an enemy unit within ranged or Aeldari models that make an attack reroll the wound roll.
Okay.
Very good.
Yep.
The Yvraine, though, cannot join troop, though, Harlequin troop.
Yeah, because that was a big combo we saw in the index, wasn't it? With the fight first on the troop and stuff like that, which is obviously not going to be in this codex.
No, not anymore. Yeah, and as we said, the Incarn as well, once in each of your opponent's turn, when another friendly model is destroyed, it can then replace it. So that's now changed as well to be your opponent's turn, not your turn. Now it's when you kill one of my units, I can take its place.
Ah, right, okay.
So if you've set up your entire shooting phase to kill the Incarn, but you kill another model first, I can then move over to that position. So then you can't kill the Incarn.
Right, so it's going to be a bit of a mind tax on your opponent.
Exactly there.
Yeah.
Right, okay, cool. Then you've got Ynniad Archon. Similar sort of rules, is like reroll 1s of wound, but then it all starts to be around like starting strength and the rest of it, okay? So while that unit is below starting strength, it can reroll the wound roll instead, for example. Okay. It's still got the 2+ invulnerable save, like the Shadow Field, and also once per battle round, you can reduce the CP cost by 1. So it no longer has Vect. What it does instead is essentially become like a captain.
Yeah.
Okay. The Ynniad Succubus is here. You get sustained hits 1, and at the start of the fight phase until the end of the phase, if you're below starting strength, you have fights first on your unit. So just don't kill any witches before you charge them. Cabalite Warriors, at the end of your command phase, you basically get sticky, which is really, really
Still
good.
have it in the transport as well?
Yep.
Okay.
That's good. Witches make people make desperate spray attacks.
Yeah, so that's the same as Drakari then.
Yeah. Incubi.
Force battle shock?
Yep.
Yeah.
Reavers, they can fly over you and do mortal wounds.
Yeah.
And then you got a Raider, and also you got Venoms. But they're the only Ynniad Drakari units you can take. No others.
It's pretty much the standard stuff from Drakari rather than the bespoke. Obviously, the Covens aren't really seen in Ynniad lists anyway.
No Scourges.
No Scourges, which is a big thing.
Yeah. That's actually pretty big because they were also quite a staple of Ynniad lists.
Ravagers, were they in there?
No, they're not in here either.
So Ravagers was also something that were quite big in the Ynniad list. So okay.
One thing I want to touch on as well, I believe earlier I mentioned that your platforms, they can only join units. They can join its unit. They don't have to. They could still be taken as their own.
Sure.
But there's 3 different type of weapon platforms. There's D-cannons, Shadow Weavers, and Vibros. So my best pick, though, is the Vibro Cannon. D6 shots, 48 inches. Strength 9, -1, 2 damage. It's not indirect, though, so I probably would actually put this in a unit to make sure it stays a bit safer.
Yep.
And in the shooting phase, each time this model makes an attack with a Vibro Cannon, that target enemy units improve the strength and armor penetration and damage by 1 for every friendly Vibro Cannon platform that also targets it.
So you can get all these buffs onto other Vibro Cannon units.
Yeah, so you can go up to, if the first one shot a strength 9, -1, 2 damage, the next one would shoot at strength 10, AP2 damage, 3 damage. Then the third one would shoot at strength 11, AP3,
4 damage.
4 damage. Now, a War Walker would also make it additional AP for the first one. So then the first one becomes AP2.
Yeah.
And you could have a unit to strip cover as well.
Okay, right. So maybe, I mean, it depends on how many points they are, right? But taking loads of these.
They're actually quite cheap.
Oh.
They're not too bad.
Right.
They're nowhere near the points of a D cannon.
And then putting them in units, in Guardian units.
Then it's going to get costly.
But
remember that little battle host one with all the Guardians? You could reroll wounds?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh.
Or get +1 to hit?
Oh. Bit of secret sauce.
You just have a little, unit on an objective?
Yep.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any way we can start stacking buffs on units is always going to be really strong, and especially with this.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So on the whole, I'm super happy with this. I think there's so much depth with the Codex. I think there's lots of different ways to play out. I want to try Ynniad. I want to try Harlequins. I want to try the Guardian Host one. I want to try the Windrider one with all the Shining Spears. I genuinely think for all the different units, there's a way to make them viable and play. And I love that because as somebody that has quite a decent army of Eldar with lots of different things, I've got detachments where I can build units in a way that's going to be fun, thematic, and effective, which is exactly what you want from a Codex.
Yeah, and I think this genuinely has a lot of flavour. It does feel like the detachments are centred around a different craft world or different faction.
Mm-hmm.
Something we haven't spoken about is actually the Phoenix Lords.
Yes.
Do you want to go over the data sheets of the Phoenix Lords?
Yeah.
Because there's some big new ones. There's some big changes to some of them as well, right?
Yeah, exactly that. So as we mentioned, Eldrad, he now gives you a CP, okay?
Yep.
Some of the abilities have changed as well, the way the psychic powers work. There's been some subtle changes, which we'll cover on the masterclass, and when we do the lists. So the autarchs have changed as well. So when they're leading abilities, for example, the one on foot allows you to re-roll dice when you come to do your advance rolls, and your agile maneuvers. The autarch Wayleaper, basically, once you've done an agile move on a 3+, you get it back.
Yeah.
Okay, and they also act like captains, which reduce the CP cost by 1. Right, Azaman. Not only is he an absolute weapon in combat, okay, after his unit is shot, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches.
Okay.
So it can get out of a wave serpent, kill everything, and then get back in.
Just jump straight back in.
Yeah. or jump behind a wall. But then you obviously can't charge once you've done this. Also, Wave Serpents are changed. They're now -1 to wound, which is a nice little buff for them because they really needed it.
Yeah.
Then once per game, he can make his Bloody Twins, which are his guns. They're flat damage 3 when he uses this ability, anti-infantry 3+, and devastating wounds with 6 shots.
Right.
And it would have sustained, potentially crits on 5s.
He is picking up any unit that he's looking at, really, shooting-wise, infantry at least. Like Terminators, he'll pick up a squad of Terminators, no problem.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because anti-infantry 3+.
Yeah, triggering death wounds on the 3s.
And you could use 2 of your little tokens
to flip them to 6s.
Yeah.
He will just go...
I costed it up, though. Him plus 10 Dire Avengers is around 300 points.
As it should be, I think, for that ability.
It's effective.
Yeah.
Equally, if the Terminators get the drop on the Dire Avengers, all the Stormbolters pick up all the Dire Avengers, and then the Terminators pick up Azaman. So, and he's only got a 4+ invulnerable save now. It's not 3.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So he's not as tanky as he used to be. So he's deadly, but he will go down pretty quick. And he's only got 5 wounds.
Okay.
Now, next up is Baharov. Baharov, when it's leading a unit, it basically gives you the ability to remove from the table and come back on. And when it does so from Deep Strike, it comes down. It says 3, but it would be obviously 6 with a balanced data slate. And then each time it's set up on the battlefield, it always makes a critical hit roll on a hit roll. So every hit is a critical hit, and it has lethal. So it's 4 shots.
But we have ways in different detachments to give sustained.
Yes.
So we could just get lethal and sustained on hits.
Yes.
With that unit.
Just with him.
Just with him.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's really good.
So he would be 4 shots, and if you gave it sustained, ignoring cover, it would be 4 automatic hits with a 4 additional hits. 4 of those hits would have already wounded, and then your strength 6 -1, 2 damage.
Oh, they're 2 damage as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. That's really good.
He's nice.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Fugan. He's lost his Feel No Pain.
Mm-hmm.
He does stand back up, though. His gun is still an absolute beast at Melter 6, with 1 shot, strength 14, -6, d6, +6 damage.
-6.
And he adds 6 inches to the range characteristics of Melter weapons by models in this unit.
Yeah, so if he leaves Fire Dragons, he's going to increase their melter range, get the full effectiveness out of them.
Yes.
And I know Fire Dragons had a change to become more like Eradicators.
Yes, so they reroll hits, wounds, and damage against monsters and vehicles. So Jane Czar, as I mentioned earlier, she auto-advances 6 for the unit, and you can advance in charge, and you also ignore vertical distances. And every time you target a character, she rerolls the wound roll. And she's got anti-infantry 3+, she's got 8 attacks, strength 6, -3, 2 damage.
Yeah, she's going to blend.
Yeah, she also has fights first.
Even more so going to blend.
As she should, because she is rapid.
Yeah.
Right. Spider-Man, Lycus, yeah. This is absolutely bonkers. You can charge him. You can charge in a turn in which it flicker jumped, but you can only flicker jump if you're attached to a unit, because that actually has flicker jump.
Yeah.
She doesn't have flicker jump on her own.
No. So she can't just ride solo.
Yeah.
Like Jason Derulo.
Exactly. And then also, after you've shot a unit, any Aeldari unit that makes an attack against it gets critical hits of 5+.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's until the end of the turn.
That's all I can say on that one.
So you could get sustained hits in combat or lethal on 5s. Morgan Ra.
Is he any better?
Yeah, a bit better. 6 of shots, devastating wounds, ignores cover, strength 7, AP 2 damage with 6 shots.
Okay.
That's all right. Now, when you're leading a unit, after you've selected your targets, you then basically do a bunch of splash mortal wounds to a target that you hit. So it's cool. Yeah.
Okay. So you do mortal wounds potentially when you shot them.
Yeah, and then also in your shooting phase, just after you've shot, 1 or more of those enemy units has to take a battle shock check, subtracting 1 from the result.
Cool.
It's okay.
He's still not like a standout out of the other ones, is he?
No. Dire Avengers already spoke about. They get sustained hits within a half range. Swooping Hawks, once per turn in the movement phase, if you end the move, you can basically do loads of grenades, loads of mortal wounds.
Yeah, so they've lost the ability to just solo jump off the board. They have to go with Baharov to be able to do that, right?
They used to have shoot and scoot.
Oh
no, they used to have that ability, and then Baharov gave you shoot and scoot, which is now lost. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, they can basically make you do mortal wounds up to a maximum of 6.
Nice.
And they've still got grenades anyway.
Cool, so we could do a bit more damage with them. That's good.
Fire dragons, as we said, they reroll the hit, wound, and damage. I really like the cool combos. In fact, all the Exarchs feel different with all the different weapon options you take. There's not just this one better weapon anymore. Like fire dragons, you can take a fire pike, which is 18 inches, strength 12, -4, d6 damage. Melter 3, which you think, okay, that's amazing, right? But what you're not taking is the normal fusion gun, which is strength 9. Remember, you get 4 rerolls to hit and wound, AP 4, d6 damage, but is melter 6. So you get more melter damage on that one. Or you take the pistol, because it's still 6 inches, melter 3, d6 damage, but you also get to then take a fire pike, which means if you're putting this unit with Fuchs, he then gives you the full melter range at 6 inches, so not just 3 for the pistol, and then the fire pike itself is then strength 12 minus. Sorry, the dragon axe is strength 6, AP 4, d6 damage.
So he has a good combat punch
and 3 attacks. It's not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
The Howling Banshees, they get fights first. They can advance in charge. That's their ability. And then they've now got only 2 attacks a model, though.
Okay.
But they're anti-infantry 3+, strength 4 -2 damage.
Oh, that's good.
It
2 damage is quite good.
It's only 2 attacks each, and they're hitting on 3. So if you've got 5 models, which is probably typical, that's 10 attacks. 3 to 4 are going to miss 6 hits, maybe 4 wound.
Yeah.
Space Marines on a 5+ save, you might kill 3 out of 5.
Well, the anti-infantry is nice on them. It means that they can at least kill. I think they will blend Marines quite reliably.
But then the Executioner is the Exarch will probably kill more models than the rest of the unit.
Yeah.
Warp Spiders, though. Big shout out to the Warp Spider with all the knives. So you don't take any guns on this guy. He gets, and you put this with
Lickus.
Yeah, that's the one. Lethal hits with 10 attacks, twin linked. He's an absolute blender. Yeah.
They've lost dev wounds as well, haven't they, on their torrent weapons? Which
they
is a
do.
big
So it's just strength
index.
4 -1 damage flamers, which are okay. And flicker jump now, for every model with that flicker jump, you roll a dice, and on a 1 it dies.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, you suffer 1 mortal wound. Rather than just losing 1 model now, you could lose, if you had a unit of 10, you could lose 4
There's
after
now
you flicker
risk
jumped.
to doing it, which I think probably
Big risk.
needed to be put in there, probably, right?
Yeah. Dark Reapers still look okay. You ignore, ballistic skill, hit roll modifiers.
If there's any out there.
Yeah. 1 shot, strength 10, -2, flat 3 damage.
Okay, the flat 3 damage is quite nice. But you have that in buckets, actually, in this codex, I think.
Yeah.
Shining
Spears, they're great. Anti-monster, anti-vehicle 3+, lance, so they also get +1 to wound. Strength 5, -2, flat 3 damage.
Yeah.
And they can ignore vertical distances in terrain and stuff, which is great. They move flat 14. They're pretty decent, actually. Striking Scorpions get crits on 5s, but there's no Karandras in this book.
No.
He's gone. He'll never be forgotten, though, because Karandras is an absolute cool dude.
He is a cool dude. He's a baller.
He's one of my favourite Phoenix Lords.
Yeah, it's sad, but hopefully one day we can see him rise.
But this unit does get infiltrates and scout 7 and stealth.
They got the works, haven't they?
They certainly have the works.
They might not have a Phoenix Lord, but they got the rules to back it up.
Yep. Now, Autarchs are quite interesting because I believe when they join different units, they gain different abilities to sort of effectively act in fight like
the Aspect Shrine.
So if you take Howling Banshees, you get fights first. If you join Striking Scorpions, you get Infiltrate and Scout 7. So I'm actually going to do a Autarch, paint him like a Karandras with the big chain sword and everything else. And actually, the Scorpion Chainsword gets sustained hits. 7 attacks with an Autarch, strength 4, -1. And remember that thing to give it +1 damage?
Yep.
So I'm going to have like a baby Karandras with a conversion, paint him green. And he can join 10 Striking Scorpions, so that'll be pretty cool with crits on 5s.
Bring him out the woodworks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So there we go.
All right. So we've gone through quite a lot in this book.
Yeah.
What are your overall thoughts of the Eldar Codex? Are you happy with it?
I am. I'm super happy. I'm super excited to play. I just want it out now.
Yeah.
I want to go to tournaments with my Eldar army. Yeah, I can't wait to play.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get test games in. I can't wait to try out different detachments, different lists. This is going to be a great year, and I'm 100% playing Eldar for the remainder of this edition.
Yeah. No, it's good to see, mate, and I'm glad you've got your favorite army back on the table, with all its glory and all its strength, and it doesn't feel like it's over the top or anything like that. There does feel like there's a lot of flavour to the book, which is good.
Because I played Eldar of most of 9th edition. I did, quite well with Eldar. I won UK Best Eldar Player, and then as soon as 10th edition dropped, I saw how crazy it was, and I didn't play them. So now I feel like it's a time. I don't know how strong it's going to be. It looks pretty strong, but it doesn't seem to be absurdly crazy like the Index did. So I'm happy for a different change. I love the combat units, and I can't wait to see some Eldar combat on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully you enjoy this review, guys. Let us know what you're looking forward to and the detachment you're looking forward to playing most. On members, we're going to do a list for every single one of the different detachments. And then on the Masterclass series, we're going to cover the strengths and weaknesses. We're going to go into depth into how to deploy each of those, and also all the advanced combos. And if you want to get to a point where you're confident against playing from Eldar, then check out the Masterclass, because that's going to help you avoid any gotcha moments that there might be.
Absolutely, Steve. Well, thank you for joining me on this, and hopefully you've enjoyed this review. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on this codex, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in a video very soon.